Um, hey everyone, Darcheon here, and it is time for a review of the new Ethel Cain album, Willoughby Tucker, I'll Always Love You. Here we have the sophomore full-length LP from singer-songwriter Hayden Anadonia, who built up quite the audience with her highly conceptual 2022 debut album, Preacher's Daughter. This record explores the deepest pits of religious trauma and girlhood trauma, and sonically it pulls influences ranging from dreamy indie pop, southern gothic pop rock, and industrial rock, to name a few. Although I appreciated the storytelling and overall artistry of the record, I walked away from it feeling like Hayden still had a lot to improve on when it came to the execution side of things. I felt like it left a lot to be desired, and sonically it was pretty all over the place too, but I can definitely see why it resonated with so many people. In January of this year, Hayden came through with the incredibly visceral and abrasive 90-minute EP, Perverts. And I absolutely love this thing, front to back. The winding drones across the majority of this record are so gut-wrenching and anxiety-filled. It feels like I'm being chased by a witch or something. I personally love when Hayden goes in this darker direction. It makes for a much more compelling and immersive world for me to dive into, but I do understand why a lot of people are put off by the record. And now we have this new record which conceptually serves as sort of a prequel to the Preacher's Daughter storyline, and also kind of revisits that sound a little bit, as well as merging it with the atmosphere of Perverts. A lot of the content on this record is very emotional and somber, both sonically and lyrically. And although I liked this more than Preacher's Daughter, I also walked away from this feeling a little underwhelmed. The pacing and sequencing of this record felt like I was still being starved of a world I could really find compelling or immersive. In terms of the more pervert style tracks, we have ambient instrumental cuts on here, with the 7-minute WILLOUghby'S interlude being my favorite. Sonically, it feels like a continuation of the Pervert's closer, Amber Waves, with the muddied guitar that plays throughout, droning synths, as well as those eerie vocal harmonies. Throughout the song's runtime, it flourishes into this beautiful soundscape that makes me feel like I'm being pulled towards a black hole or something. I feel like Hayden's strongest quality is definitely her storytelling, as the lyrics here are deeply tear-jerking, especially on the opening track, Janie, which did get me a little emotional. It's a very slow, raw, and somber guitar ballad which depicts Ethel's best friend getting a new partner and presumably isn't paying enough mind to Ethel anymore because of this. Ethel on this song is yearning for Janie's attention, and there's this very bitter undertone that she's feeling towards both Janie and her partner. Hayden's vocal delivery is goddamn beautiful, and it stings. It stings in the best way possible. However, the main gripe that I do have with this track list is the song Fuck Me Eyes, which was released as a single. I would go as far to say that the record would be far better off without this track. In my opinion, it's a bland, boring, flavorless synth pop cut that drags on for too long. Yeah, the 6-minute runtime really doesn't justify it. I'm also not a fan of the vocal processing. It feels like such a contrast to Janie, where she was pouring all this emotion out, and now on this track I feel nothing at all. It's like all the expectations I had for this record has plummeted to an all-time low. I get that it's a very personal track to Hayden, which is the reason she placed it on this record to begin with, but I feel like the inclusion of it feels so unnecessary, and it sticks out from the rest of the songs, not in a good way either. Things do start to pick up though on Nettles. This song sounds like your standard Ethel Cain indie pop cut, while also adding some southern textures to it as well. Although I'm not crazy about this track personally, it does its thing as sort of being the heart of this record and a good lead single too. I personally think the instrumentation here could have used a little more variation as the track went on. It felt a little flaky and stiff to me. And I feel like I have the same complaints with Dust Bowl. I do like the really moody and dark atmosphere of this track, but to me it kind of goes on without any satisfying drive or conclusion. The instrumentation could have used a tad bit more seasoning, and I think the climax didn't have the bite that it could have had. The record really only immerses me towards the end here with the two monsters at the end of the track list. The 10-minute Tempest has some of the darkest moments here, both sonically and lyrically. Do you swing from your neck with the hope someone cares? Yeah, you can interpret that in whatever way you want to. Throughout this track, there is this very industrial, gritty, distorted guitar, and the drums are soaked in reverb very nicely, actually. It doesn't feel like it drowns out the mix or anything like that. The end of this track greets us with bright synth lines that add a nice contrast to the muddy, reverbed instrumentation underneath. And the 15-minute WACO Texas is a very satisfying finish for this record. The lyrics here are the most heart-wrenching yet. Ethel tells a story of what could have been with this person. It's like she doesn't want to accept reality. Sonically, it serves mostly as a slow indie pop guitar ballad, but towards the end there is an emotional, explosive, but also subtle ending. So yeah, this record showed a lot of great ideas, but Hayden kind of falls into the same trap that she made for herself with Preacher's Daughter, whether it be the instrumentals being too stagnant, the mixing being too cluttered, or just the slow burners having not an exciting enough conclusion. I'm quite on the fence with this record. Do I think the second leg is far better than the first? Yes. It's a little disappointing, especially having this come out in succession right after Perverts, which is an EP that I love. I'm feeling a light 6 on this thing. Darchewan, Ethel Cain, WILLOUGHBY Tucker, I'll always love you, forever.